Did you ever see this video of a guy yelling at his congressman?
You have been the single greatest threat to my family in the entire world. You are the reason I stay up at night.
On liberal social media, that guy's rant went very viral.
I'm not done with you yet.
And a lot of other moments like it have too. There's this one of a senator getting yelled at in Arkansas.
Wow, what kind of insurance do you have?
And there's this one from Idaho where a congressman gets yelled at after he says this.
Nobody dies because they don't have access to health care.
Videos like these get passed around because it feels really good to watch your political opponents get destroyed or shut down, eviscerated, whatever. But yelling at congressmen is more than just cathartic. It's also part of a bigger plan to fight Donald Trump that might actually work.
I got a very loud...
But back to this yelling guy for a second. That was way back in May in New Jersey at a public event for this guy, who at the time was playing a major role in Trump's drive to repeal Obamacare. More than 30 people yelled at him that night for more than 4 hours. And a lot of them had heard about the event in the same way.
One of the Indivisible groups.
The Indivisible group.
Local political action groups. So Indivisible.
Indivisible.
What is Indivisible?
Yeah, what is Indivisible?
Hi, I'm Leah Greenberg. I'm the co-executive director of Indivisible Project.
And I'm Ezra Levin. I'm co-executive director of the Indivisible Project. We're married, too.
Cool. Anyway, to understand the story of how those guys started this movement, you have to remember what it was like for liberals back in December, right after Trump won the election. Back before all the town halls, before the Women's March, before #resistance, before even the inauguration, right after the election. And most liberals were just shocked or sad or mad and wanted to do something. But no one had a plan. That was when Leah and Ezra wrote this.
What is Indivisible? This is Indivisible.
Indivisible was a Google Doc. It was a guide for how to fight Trump's agenda, written by former congressional staffers, them, who knew from experience how you pressure members of Congress.
The single best thing you can do is show up at a public event or district office and have cameras with you, record it, so that that can be broadcast far and wide and people can see exactly what's going on.
And the guide was exactly what liberals everywhere were looking for. It went viral instantly, and it made Ezra and Leah sort of famous.
There have been over 600,000 page views. There have been 130,000 people who have downloaded the guide.
Today, Indivisible has chapters not just in every state, but every congressional district. There are thousands of groups, and they all operate independently. But all of them follow this basic theory laid out in the guide, that while Congress as an institution is really unpopular, individual members of Congress in their own districts don't have that problem. They're usually pretty popular. But make them feel like that could change, and they get skittish.
Success isn't necessarily turning a really conservative member of Congress into a progressive member of Congress. But you can have a really conservative member who, in private meetings, suddenly they're saying like, hey, what's the rush? Or, I don't know if we need to do all of this right now.
It's kind of psychological, but the reason that Leah and Ezra know this tactic can work is that they didn't make it up. They got it from their own experiences.
We worked on the Hill during the early years of the Obama administration and seen during that time a model for local congressional advocacy that was really successful, and we knew it was successful because it was used against us by the Tea Party.
Back then, Ezra was working for a Democratic congressman in Texas.
I think he was one of the first town hall events in 2009. There were just waves of Tea Party protests against the Affordable Care Act. You could just feel the energy out there. People outside with his name on a tombstone. It was clear that that was changing what was politically possible. And it was because these folks were standing up and pressuring the members of Congress. I saw that very clearly.
This moment is where Indivisible's plan starts. Because what happened next? Democrats lost their majority, they never got a climate bill, there was no DREAM Act. This was how Obama's legislative agenda died, and how the Tea Party won. Right?
Yeah, but so what? If 10 years from now, if Obamacare is still standing, you will say that the Tea Party lost.
Okay, that is Eitan Hersh, political scientist. He says that there's actually a different lesson that Indivisible should be taking from the Tea Party. And sorry, this is about to get nerdy.
I study U.S. elections and civic engagement.
And more specifically, Eitan studies a particular phenomenon that As emotion and entertainment have both become a bigger part of politics, more and more of us are doing things that feel like politics, but are actually something different.
When people want to be politically engaged, but they often are doing this other thing, which is some emotional catharsis, but is not really geared toward power or change.
That other thing is called political hobbyism. And we're all guilty of it sometimes. It's like obsessively following the news or sharing political videos. All that stuff is hobbyism because it's more about scratching an itch than making change. But, and here's where it gets tricky, not all activism is created equal. And sometimes the difference between doing politics and hobbyism isn't as obvious. And this is where the Tea Party comes in, because according to Eitan, one big way to know that difference is this question. Are you working towards a specific policy goal beyond just beating an opponent? The Tea Party had a policy goal, or they said they did.
The Tea Party consistently focused on the repealing of Obamacare.
But they failed.
That vote coming up short. Senator John McCain.
I don't know what else to say other than Obamacare is the law of the land. It's going to remain the law of the land.
And Eitan says that this was actually inevitable. Because even though the Tea Party was against Obamacare, they weren't really for anything.
The Tea Party was never very focused on policy. They didn't really care.
So the lesson of the Tea Party is that being against something or someone can be a great motivator, but it rarely leads to real power. And in that sense, it's not a model that Indivisible or any activist group should want to copy, because the danger in political hobbyism is that when it no longer feels emotionally rewarding, we stop doing it. And that has happened to liberals before.
There are a lot of reasons why the Democrats lost power in 2010. Maybe part of it was the Tea Party, but a big part of it is that people who were really excited about Obama, who came out to vote for him in 2008, didn't show up.
In other words, when we watch all these videos from town halls, whether it's in 2017 or 2009, there's an important thing that we're missing. Who's not there to fight back? Who stayed home because the election was over, they won, and the work was done? So that's the question for Indivisible. Will it last? Do they have a policy goal?
With a group like Indivisible, is it a long-term pressure group within a party to try to move a party in a certain direction? If that's true, what direction is it? Is it to make the party care about single-payer health care and guaranteed income? Is the goal to just beat Trump?
Right now, they don't have a clear platform. And they say that it's because Indivisible was built around opposition, the power to say no.
We can't set the agenda. It's just not possible. We don't have the House, the Senate, or the presidency. That's the hard truth, but we have to accept it. So actually, the way constituent power on the progressive side works right now is the power to respond.
But since that conversation, Indivisible has announced that they are working on a platform, which could mean that they know it'll be tough to keep the movement going without one. So far, Indivisible has accomplished a lot of what they set out to do. They've activated hundreds of thousands of people across the United States. And maybe they can stop Donald Trump's agenda. Maybe they'll even play a part in stopping Trump. But then what?